everybody, KC0VI Tom. We'll see how this mic's working. I'm having a hard time with mics lately, getting audio problems. It's the third weekend of June, and we're downtown here in St. Ansgar. That could only be one thing. It's the normal hot, muggy weekend in June. This third weekend of June seems like it's always hot and muggy. For the big event here we have in town in St. Ansgar, Town and Country Days. Over the years, this has changed its names. It was Oatmeal Days for a while, and we moved it back to Town and Country Days. It's our big. We're not big enough to do a 4th of July, and there's a lot of towns in the area that do the 4th of July events, so we picked the weekend before and celebrate the town and the farmers in the area and the businesses. What's to do here? Take a look.
The event started out with the fireman water ball fight. This is always interesting to watch down here in the main drag. Then down at the park, after that we had a 5K color fun run, which is always a big hit for the kids. Here's a list of all the activities for the rest of the weekend going on. Saturday morning there's a 2x4 bicycle race run. That's 2 states, 4 counties. Here we got a map of everything laid out where everything is so you can find it. Down at my end of the town where the museum is, we have a classic auto show. This should be a real good, as you'll see. Another popular item was the cornhole tournament down on 4th Street. This next one, the basketball 3-on-3, will be interesting to see how they handle the high heat and humidity today. And again, there's a lot of activities in the park for the kids later on in the afternoon in the cool shade of all those pine trees. Now again, if you're hungry, we have plenty of food trucks down there, so you have a little bit to snack on, plenty to drink. There's free water along the route. And at noon, the Mitchell County Cattlemen group is doing their famous steak sandwiches, burgers, and fries. They're very good. Then later on that evening, the St. Ansgar Fire Department does their pork chop feed. After you're done having that, there's always free ice cream from the Dairy Association. And again, a reminder, the parade is at 7 o'clock down at the high school. Lineup starts at 6:15. Then after the parade, Bruce Behringer is doing a live performance.
Got an exciting lineup for all day, so if you leave bored or hungry, it's your own fault. There's more than enough stuff to do and more than enough places to eat. Like I said, over the years, we've had some interesting weather. The parade has only been rained out twice that I'm aware of. And the first time I remember, it was kind of debatable whether it rained out or not. We were all at the staging area down at the high school, and we had a report of a tornado on the ground about 10 miles outside of town on the west side of town heading our way. So we told everybody in the staging area to beat feet home. Boy, did we cut through the parade route very fast. So, but the other time it rained pretty much all day. So like I said, most of the time here it's hot, real nice sunny weather. Let's take a walk. Everybody's setting up. I have museum duty this morning. Then after we're done in the museum, we'll take a long walk through all the festivities and see what we got going on.
They're already blaring music from the DJ booth, so we'll switch over to a voiceover mic. If you have the opportunity to sit in your local town's organization for their town event like this, and somebody in the community says, hey, let's do a car show. Just word of warning, these car guys, they like to show up early. They like to take their time, set up their cars, get them spit and polish. Yep, spit and polish. And if any awards they have, they like to have them sit out front of the cars to show them off. It's their pride and joy. Even though it's fairly early, we are still getting a good selection of cars already, and tractors. We've already had 2 tractors show up. As we head down here, just look at more of these cars. A lot of these cars look better than they did when they came out the assembly line. Down here in the vendor area, they got all the vendors in the center of the road on 4th Street here, which gives, if you're walking by, it gives you room to walk more towards the sidewalk side, and that gives people who want to work with the vendors or talk to them with more, more room to do that. Along with the vendors, a lot of the local brick and mortar stores are doing sales along on this day. Here's another DJ booth that's blaring the music. That's giving me a little problem this morning. Don't want to take another copyright hit. You longtime viewers, if you remember last year at the 4th of July parade in Austin, the city band was riding by on a flatbed trailer and they're playing God Bless America, I believe, and I took a copy hit on that. So a lot of the vendors are still setting up. Pretty much all the locations are full. It looks like they got a good turnout on the vendors again. They're a little worried with the forecast and the high temps and the high humidity. We're getting close to the food truck area. We got this yellow trailer. They've been here for quite a few years. Down that street there was the blow-ups. Down here is going to be all the rest of the food vendors and some picnic tables in the shade. We'll walk over here on this side of the street and try not to get ran over by the vendors as they're setting up in all their vehicles. I have to say hats off to a lot of these vendors who showed up. Even though it's like 8:30 in the morning, it's already like 84 degrees, 85 degrees. Humidity is extremely high in the 80s. It is just uncomfortable. During the day with all the heat generated by the sun radiating off the asphalt road and the sidewalks, cement sidewalks, it's going to get hot down here. But here they are setting up, getting their canopies up, which is a big help. If you ever do anything like this, make sure you grab a canopy and get everything in there. Hopefully they have plenty of water and they have a few extra bodies so you can actually take shifts, get out of the sun, find somewhere cool, and just sit in the shade for a little bit. Last group of cars we'll hit before you get back to the museum. I enjoy looking at cars like this. I'm not that big of a car guy. I couldn't tell you what type of car these are, but I enjoy looking at a nice looking car.
Okay, my shift is done. I found my hat. I forgot my hat this morning. It is getting really brutal out here. We'll make a quick run through the cars, then we'll head down to the vendors, food trucks. We'll end up in the city park, and then we'll talk about what's going on this afternoon. Let's go for a walk.
The cornhole tournament has always been a very popular event. As you can see, they have multiple lanes up, so get all these teams ran through, so these guys can go out and enjoy themselves the rest of the day. Running down here to the vendor section, as you can see, a lot of vendors are here, all set up. There's only one or two open spots. They're coming up to this little section here. This is actually a planned crossover point, so you can go from one side of the street to the other. It's not nobody showed up. The mic that I picked up is extremely sensitive. It's actually too sensitive. That's why I'm doing a voiceover. I'm going to have to find some shoppy music here to lay in on some of these. Another crossover point. Even though it is quite warm and brutal down here, a lot of the vendors are in very good mood. They're cheerful. I've talked to a couple of them as I was walking through here. They're all in good spirits. Sales are fairly decent for, again, this event is known to bring the kids to town and have a good time with all the kids' activity. And there's always a little bit of crafts and food you can buy, along with other little essential oils and makeup ladies. And that couple there, they actually sold out early. They thought they had brought too much stuff, but everything they had sold fairly fast. And again, there's a lot of neat stuff in the vendor section for keep the kids occupied and you need a little treat yourself or your loved ones. We'll swing over on the other side of the street. The wind on this side of the street was quite interesting. It was really blowing a problem. They had to make sure you had everything weighted down. You had to have somebody holding onto the canopy legs or the rack of clothing or other items you have suspended on a rack. This young man here, I thought he was looking for something to buy, but actually he was holding it up. With the wind quite strong on this side of the street, it wasn't that bad, even though if you're in the sun. Once you got out of the sun with that breeze, you know, even though it was still a warm breeze, it was still enjoyable. Like I said, a lot of the vendors were having a good time there. They were making sure that they were getting shifts out of the bright sun and into, rack of clothes down. You know, they're making sure their people is getting cycled in and out. And I was telling everybody to stop down at the museum when the air conditioning is on there. Go in there and sit for a little bit to get cooled off. The food vendors are located down here on West 4th Street. There's a good selection of where you want to nibble on or snack on. Again, during the day there's two big meals that are coming up here, so some people are actually just eating out the food truck and what they wanted, and others, like me, were waiting for the big meals to come up. A lot of these vendors have been here before, so they know where locations are good to go to. Down here, again, on this side of town, there's plenty of shade trees, so there's picnic tables in the shade. One year we did have the car show down here, so the guys would be sitting in the shade, but they didn't care too much for it. They want to be down more towards the center of town. They thought they're getting away from the main attractions, and they want to be down there, so that's why they're down there now. You know, a little cookie truck here, so you need a little treat. Down here at City Park was all the activities for the kids to be at. The FFA tractor pedal pull, I believe it's called, is getting ready to go. We have a climbing tower. We have one person that's shooting up the side of that fairly good. The two guys were there just putting the harnesses on, and a couple other kids ready to send them up the wall. Other items they had for them to do was an obstacle course, kind of jump and duck underneath the swinging arm. Hopefully you didn't get hit too bad. Then this one here is a little ball on a tether, and you try to stay out of the way, I guess. I sat for a couple of minutes waiting for somebody to do it, and nobody really was looking interested in doing it. Down here we had bumper cars. I would have loved to be able to get in there, but I don't think I was small enough to actually get in there. So I did see a sign that said you had to be below this, this height to be able to ride. Another one we had was the running obstacle course. You had to take your shoes off, of course, and run through this around all the inflatable items and jump over the logs. And as you can see, a couple of kids here climbing up the last section. And the old train setup, guy's been here. I don't know if it's the same person, but this has always been a big attraction over the years. The kids really enjoy it. And the last group, we have a group of blow-ups for younger kids. These are the smaller ones, which went over very well. They had their own little area. Then in the gazebo, we had a face painting for the kids. Over here, we had a wagon with a couple of big old draft horses. They actually had little catch pans underneath them, so there was no road apples. And as usual, over here in the corner of the park was the pony rides. There was always a long line for the kids awaiting their turn to get on there. Very enjoyable day.
That's what we got going on during the day here. Now at lunchtime, the Cattlemen Association is doing some very good steak sandwiches. It's worth the wait in line. It's always well attended. Then about 4 o'clock, we have the St. Ansgar Fire Department's annual feed. Very good food there. I haven't heard what it's going to be this year. Pork chops is what it's normally been, and other times they had some other stuff they brought in. But it's still good. Good meal. The ice cream truck will be there, handing out free ice cream as usual. Then at 7 o'clock, we have the parade. That was moved to that 7 o'clock from the noon time start because it's just too hot running down Main Drag with all the concrete and asphalt to just re-radiate all that heat. By the time 7 o'clock rolls around, it's fairly decent out there. Then after that, there is a street dance by the Legion to finish everything off. That's how we have a good time here in small town Iowa. Take care, everybody. 7-3.
Be sure to tell your friends, neighbors, other hams. Subscribe, hit that bell to get notification when new videos come out. Add comments below. 7-3, everybody.